Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. So here we are again. We have policies that we can look at. So today we're going to be going over some of the policies that have come out from the government. Eddie already put something in the chat. We will discuss policies. We are not going to play the name calling game. We're just not going to do that. We can talk, we can discuss policies because we're grown up, so we can do this and we're going to do it together. I will share some of my opinions. You're more welcome to share your opinions again, but with no name calling. We're not in grade school. Let's have a grown up conversation about some of these policies. All right. So without further ado, go ahead and run the intro, and then I have a question right after that intro. So go ahead, Eddie. Go ahead.
Get ready. Kristina's live stream is about to start.
Tiny homes, big dreams, stacking up the cream. Modular escapes, not just what it seems. Locks in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams. Kristina on the stream, showing schemes to the team. Tiny living planes, soaring high supremes. Locks in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams.
All right. So my first question has nothing to do with policy or politics. It's about you guys. So I got a comment last week, and I'm going to poll you guys that are in the stream right now. Do you hate that I run an intro? If you hate that I run the intro, please let me know in the comment section now. I started doing that at the end of last year, and everybody in the chat seemed to always like it. But if it's something that annoys you, I will stop doing it. I'm not married to the intro. I just kind of like giving it a little break up, a little pizzazz, a little, get your day started kind of stuff. So anyways, all right. So our first article comes from Fox News, and we're going to go through the whole entire article. And then I have the actual, what is said on the White House website. So let's go ahead. Hola, Rick. Hola, Rick. Oh, Eric Blue says, I have no problem with the intro. Good enough. I like it. Thanks. Well, everybody. Yeah, but I don't care for the intro. Okay, so we got 2 against 1, maybe 3 against 1. All right, well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe next week we'll do it without the intro. Yeah, we'll give it a whirl. It seems like everybody likes it, though. I mean, I have no problem either way. It doesn't, my feelings are not hurt if you said that you didn't like it. Like I'm not married to it. Hello, I vote no. All right, good enough. Hello, the video and chat are abnormal today. When have I ever been normal? Afternoon, everyone. Afternoon, King in the City says. All right, we have one question for the stream. It says, do you really think that the new government has a kind of plan to lower rates? It's been a week and not everyone should be able to see the mess so far. Okay, so that gets into our article. Eddie, go ahead and put our article on the screen, and we will discuss. Grab a coffee and we're going to discuss. Everybody, we're going to have a little coffee talk time. Oops. Okay, here we go. Trump wants to fix the housing affordability crisis. What will it take? Okay, regulatory factors present a major hurdle in today's housing markets, experts say. Well, who knew? The experts had to tell us. We have hurdles in the affordability crisis. Who knew? Within the first few days of office,
Litter Robot has now solved the litter box.
This website constantly wants to put their video on. So within the first few days in office, President Trump issued an emergency order directing the heads of executive departments and agencies to deliver an emergency price relief, which he emphasized would include lowering the housing and expanding the supply. It is critical to restore the purchasing power of American families and improve their quality of life. An executive action signed by Trump on Monday. The Trump administration cited regulatory requirements as the main driver why so many Americans are unable to purchase homes. In his first term, Trump reduced the regulatory costs by almost $11,000 per household. The White House said in the fact sheet, real estate experts are in agreement that the housing crisis is a problem for the federal government cannot solve alone, and that several levels of government need to be involved in making significant change. This is true. It can't like the federal government is just one facet to this very, very large problem. There isn't going to be anything that like one thing the federal government does and everything's going to be fixed. So Trump's plan is to cut regulatory red tape, focusing on construction costs, but most housing regulations like zoning and laws and permitting are controlled by local governments. The federal government has limited authority here, so meaning the change would likely require incentivize local governments or taking unprecedented federal actions such as overriding local zoning laws, according to the chief economist at Redfin. Several experts agree Trump can put immense pressure on the issue to move the needle. Realtor.com chief economist Daniel Hale told Fox Business that the U.S. is facing a deficit between 2.5 million and 7.2 million homes. And that number has, it depends on who you're, the reason the number is so off is because it depends on who you're listening to. So some experts say it's, 3 million, some say it's 5 million. So if we're going right down the middle, we're probably like 4.5 million short, which underscores the dire need to build more housing. She said regulatory requirements, which can add significant costs to building, have a barrier to ramping up supply, are a good place to start. Okay. Keep going, Eddie, please. By the way, the football game's on, so he might be turning around. For one, about $90,000 of new construction is due to regulation and regulatory compliance, Hale said. And Eddie and I discussed this, and this is true. So like I've always told you guys, whenever you're building a house, the cost of development of land is significant, because not only does it take long, you have to invest that money for a period of time. You're not going to get a return on that investment for a long period of time. So as it sits there, you're not making money, you're losing money. And it isn't until when they start scraping the ground and actually have a house to sell that they start making that money back. So they say it's estimated to be about $90,000. He thought that seemed high. I think that's right in line with what a developer puts into a lot before a house is put on there. With new construction just over 400,000, that's a pretty hefty percentage. That suggests that there's some room to address this regulation. Hale said that maybe we can take a review of these regulations and find some areas where we need to cut back on some of the rules or fees associated with those regulations to improve the outcome and enable builders not to just build more housing, but build them more quickly and efficiently. Noel Roberts, founder of the real estate firm Pending, which specializes in off-market transaction, also believes the key to making housing more affordable is increasing supply. Go ahead and scroll down. Over the last few years, many would-be sellers remained on the sidelines due to high rates, locking them into current mortgages. Roberts told Fox News that, adding that he has hundreds of millions of dollars worth of off-market inventory with owners that are open to sell but not list publicly. While he agrees Trump can't wave a magic wand to solve the affordability crisis, Robert believes his track record shows that Trump's policies, rhetoric, and pressure on the Federal Reserve can influence the key economic levers, such as lowering prices and lowering mortgage rates. Now, I want to be very clear here. Anybody can scream from the rooftops, but he doesn't control the bonds market that makes the mortgage rates what they are. I mean, you could say whatever you want. You can put as much pressure as you want on the Federal Reserve to do whatever you want them to do. You can do that, but the bonds market is what reacts to those levers being pushed. So those interest rates aren't because somebody, a magic man in the sky said, oh, today we're going to make them 8.5%. It's what the market does that causes those interest rates to be where they're at. So I just want to put that out there. Well, if he can exert influence over the Fed to lower rates and spur economic growth, there's a pathway to improving conditions for home buyers. Fairweather also noted that the federal government can influence housing affordability through mortgage policy, potentially privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, both are which operate under the U.S. government control since 2008, reducing mortgage fees and easing access to mortgage to make home ownership more attainable. Trump has mentioned plans to privatize the mortgage giants. So there's a couple things here. There again, I'm going to reiterate, he doesn't have the power to make mortgage rates go into threes, but let's just say he does. Let's just say he's able to make mortgage rates to go in the threes. If the mortgage rates are in the threes, what other economic problem is in the mix to make those rates go down like that? If the Fed is deciding to bring rates down that low and mortgage rates down that low, there has to be some other economic problem in order for that to happen, because they're encouraging people to take out loans. So, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something else going on. It isn't just because you want it, you get it. There's a reason why rates are the way they are. So that's one thing. The other thing is, and this is one of the poll questions, we were talking about Fannie and Freddie and them becoming privatized. We're going to be getting to that in a second. This whole article, though, is to me a little disingenuous, because they're kind of putting words in Trump's mouth on what he was and is going to do. This is the actual fact sheet that they actually linked on that article. So here's the fact sheet of what they said they're going to do for affordable housing. Eddie, go ahead and put that up on the screen for me, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rick Smith said it right, though. 7% rates aren't historically high. The fact sheet. Oh, and Nick says, why do people keep acting like we need to build more homes and that we're short between 2 to 7 million homes? Those 7 million homes are on BlackRock and Vanguard's books. Well, the fact that we're short is evident in the backup of how many applications are out there have been filled out and they can't find a house. When they say, well, we stopped looking, it's because we couldn't find a house in our price range, or we couldn't find a house in our area. It's possible that, Vanguard has built, has taken up some of those homes, but now they've gotten to the point where they're just building brand new neighborhoods themselves. They're building houses to rent, period. They're just building these small homes, and the intent is just to rent them out. There's a ton of these communities popping up all over the United States. Yep. Joy Lade, who wrote the article? Fox News wrote that article, by the way. Fox News wrote that article, or Fox Business. I'm sorry. Fox Business wrote that article. All right. So here's the fact sheet that came straight from the president's desk itself. It says, fact sheet, President Donald J. Trump delivers emergency relief for American families to defeat the cost of living crisis. It has numerous things in there, but we're basically talking about the housing part. It says the president's, these are the actions he's going to take. Okay. The actions include, go ahead, Eddie. The actions include drastically lowering housing drastically lowering the cost of housing and expanding housing supply. No mention, not one mention of how they planned on doing that. Not one mention in this whole entire sheet. Eliminate administrative. Let me try this again. Eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses and rent-seeking practices that drive up health costs. And I don't know if that was referring to health or housing, but that's what they plan to do. All right, here's another action. Eliminate counterproductive requirements, raising the cost of home appliances, and then create employment opportunities for Americans working, including drawing from discouraged workers in the labor force. And then eliminate harmful, coercive climate policies that drive up the cost of food and fuel. Scroll down a little bit. I was just trying to find the thing about housing. Okay. The stop up a little bit. All right. Unprecedented regulatory oppression from a Biden administration has imposed $50,000 in cost in Americans' households, whereas President Trump's first term reduced regulatory costs by $11,000 per household. I'm just going to save you guys a bunch of, like, Eddie, go ahead and scroll this slowly so everybody can see it, that I'm not trying to hide anything. This is literally one page, and there is no action in here on how he plans on doing these things. Normally when we get these, it kind of gives you a breakdown on what policies they were planning, what regulatory policies they plan on reducing to make the costs go down. But I mean, he's been in office for what, like 6 days? So we're going to come back to this, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more information on what they plan on doing, because this whole reducing red tape and regulatory costs and everything, what was true in that article, it was the fact that you have to get local governments involved. And he's not the first president to do this. I was trying to pull up Biden's old sheet because he did the same exact thing. We're offering these grants to rezone areas. He had a huge focus on manufactured housing, and some grants that needed to be applied for, from the federal government, to HUD. Basically, any local area could apply for these grants from HUD for their local area, but it had to be that local area that applied for it to get the money, so they could rezone areas to build more housing. I'm kind of thinking that's what they're going to do here, but I don't know yet, because there isn't any. This is the sheet is literally one page. I don't even think it fits a whole entire page. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I don't think there's enough meat to bite into yet to know exactly how he plans on doing any of this. It could be just a declaration of looking into it. Don't say something that can't be done. Exactly. It could be that, just that. He should do away with the red tape in Southern California to build on land. I'm not going to argue with you. Actually, California is probably one of the worst areas to build a brand new subdivision. I have a friend who's been selling in California. She represents a lot of builders and developers in the area. And she said the shortest time frame from the time that a developer buys a piece of land to the time that they actually could scrape for the house is 10 years. That's the shortest amount of time she's ever seen. And she's been a real estate agent now, I think, over almost 20 years. It is ridiculous. And they do have a lot of weird policies. Let's not forget layoffs and stagnant wages. Well, that could, if we have layoffs and stagnant wages, that could bring down interest rates, which can in turn bring down the bonds market. It could bring down mortgage interest rates. That is very possible. But I want to be very clear about one thing. If interest rates go down and we have some other economic problem, but we still have a shortage of supply of houses that are available on the market, and the average home selling today is between $400,000 to $500,000, and the price continues to go up for many people trying to buy their first home, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is, they can't afford a $500,000 home. So we still need a supply of houses that are on the market. That's the position that we're really in. They have not built enough smaller homes. And like that article was telling us, it takes them almost $90,000 before they ever even put a house on there. So that's why you see a lot of these bigger houses in neighborhoods. And you're like, where are all the small homes? And they don't have the spread to make those smaller homes. And if we have an increase in cost in building materials, especially coming in, because we get a lot of wood from Canada and we get a lot of imported goods from other areas in order to build these houses, we're looking at homes that are going to cost a lot more to build, but we don't know yet. This is all speculation. This is all we have is right now is what was written on their fact sheet right here. That's it. And until then, like I've already heard it on the intranets. Everybody likes to throw in their 2 cents. just wipe all that out. I want everybody to wipe all that out. Read these articles, what people have to say, and then go to the source that's actually coming out of the White House. This is the same that goes with any president that's in office. I said the same thing with Biden because everybody was like, he's got a blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, let's look at it together. It's the same thing over here. That's why I like showing these fact sheets that, we can see it together. So that way, everybody's making speculations and wants to get their voice heard. But when you have nothing to say because you didn't go back to the source, like some of these people just need to zip it. Zip it, I say it. Zip it. All right. Crispy says it could be a declaration. We'll look into it. I don't want to say something that can't be done. Eddie, you already had this up here. Eddie, are you watching the football game? The NAR monopoly fees and the amortization schedule on the government-backed loans. The NAR, what will this amount to government housing? Ooh, that's a great question. Will this amount to government housing? So if you look back, Biden was trying to put in a lot of manufactured housing. And that would have been like they were looking at HUD homes, HUD manufactured homes. Some people call them mobile homes. They were looking at that for government housing. They were also looking at that for taking off the chassis and then putting it on a slab, even though it be a government's HUD certified home, but it would not be in local building codes. But because it was by the federal government, they could get those houses put on there even quicker. I'm sure that those plans are now gone, like that's not going to happen, but that was something they were looking into, but we don't know yet. We're still waiting on the details of that. I don't know if they'll make like government housing for people to purchase. I could be wrong, but I have not. The closest thing to that was after World War II, and they were incentivized to build houses for the soldiers after they came back from the war, but they did that through loans. They didn't do that through building, as builders were incentivized in other ways. But what made people want to buy was the type of, the loans that they were given, their VA loans. Charlton has a question and says, as far as real estate value in municipal water and sewer, better selling than on-site well and septic? Okay, so for me personally, I've had wells. I grew up with a well, and we've had city water and sewer. Just for the maintenance and the ease of it all, I kind of like being connected to the city and having them deal with it. That whole flushing out the well and having your septic tank sucked out and making sure that your leach fields are right and all that, it's just a pain. So if you could just put that on the city, I'm a big fan of that. But there's many areas across the United States that isn't even possible. So you get what you get, and then and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just know that when you have something like that, when you have a well system and you have a septic system, you're going to have to maintain that system yourself and do it more often. It's up to you. It's a really personal preference. Some people will not even look at a house that's on a well. I don't see what the big deal is personally, but I don't know. I don't have a problem with the well. Charlton has another question that says, hi, no politics, but the deportation crackdown, will it affect cheap housing, construction labor come springtime? That's an interesting thought. There has been some discussion in many groups about this. It's possible, right? It is possible. Who knows? Who knows? All of this, we just don't know. If it goes the way that if it goes in a way that, we have a mass deportation of a lot of people, it could be that if we have a smaller labor force in the construction field and you don't have enough people to build those houses, housing production is going to slow down. And in turn, those people that do have those skills to do that are still here, are going to request more money to build those houses. So then you have a slowing down of a labor force because we don't have as many people doing those jobs. Then you have the people that remain that are going to request more money. So in turn, what does that do? it's going to make the house even more expensive. A brand new house will cost you even more. I'm not like, that's what would happen. But if we're playing the what if game, if that's the case, if that's exactly what's going to happen in the future, that isn't even a crystal ball thing. And that's just, if you don't have enough people building it, the people that remain cost a lot more. If the cost of development goes down, what would incentivize builders to lower prices? Wouldn't they just pocket the extra money? The cost of development goes down. Well, then the builders want to sell their houses quicker, right? So if they get a deal and they're spread, a good portion of them, let's just say the housing market has slowed down a bit, they got a good deal on a piece of land, they're going to sell those houses at the price what the market it can retain at that time. That's what they do. It's just, they play the supply and demand game. When the 2008 housing crisis happened, we saw all sorts of crazy things going on. And the only people that were building at that time in our local area were people that were building the most affordable homes. Some of these neighborhoods were originally designed to have multi-million dollar McMansions on them, which is almost kind of comical here in my little area. I think it was ill thought out. So anyways, they're sitting on with all this dirt that couldn't be there wasn't people with multi-million dollars laying around to build houses in that area. So instead of selling them as individual lots, they decided to sell the whole entire development. And a new company came in and they built, because they got it for a steal, and they built much smaller homes, and those houses sold like hotcakes. And it's the same house over and over and over and over again. I think there's 776 lots in there, and it's the same exact builder the whole way through. And the houses are very, very, very similar to each other. Don't go in there, don't get lost is what I'm going to say. Make sure you understand your address before you go walking in that neighborhood. But it even in the worst housing markets in history, they will not let land that's been developed sit. And if we hit an economic problem again, builders will have to adjust. They just will. And, they may have thought they were going to build little McMansions, but if they get their feet to the fire and nobody's buying those, or the market has rejected that type of home, they will build smaller again. I think the thing is that builders need to be incentivized to build smaller again. So the cost of development goes down, give them a incentive to want to build smaller, whether that is lowering the cost of building materials, whether that is some kind of tax credit for their business. Give them something that makes them want to do it. Cat C says, question, do the costs decrease if putting a modular home on farmland versus development? Does the cost decrease? So the cost decrease for putting in a modular home over a traditional custom built home is the fact that it's done in half the time, if not more, than a traditional home. So instead of waiting, 9 months for your house to be built, it's done in 3 months. They can actually, this is no joke. If you watch my video from Westchester Modular, if they have the whole, plans in place, they know where the house is going, they put it all together. It only takes them 6 days to put a house together because they build the whole entire thing in the factory, right? So it goes down that line of workers all the way around. It wraps around like snakes around 3 times, and they can get that house completed in 6 days, where it's all together, even the roof is on. Now, of course, once it gets to that location, they still have to connect it to your sewer and your lighting, and they have to make sure all the permitting is done and everything else. So that, in your flooring, extra flooring. But a lot of that stuff is already done before it hits the site. Modular homes are faster. So it would cost a developer or a builder a lot less money to get it done because they're getting them done faster. So there is money to be made if more builders would adopt the idea of building modular, because you're building the same exact home, right? But you're building it in sections in an environment that's controlled, and you can get it done in no time. You have less wear and tear on your employees too, because they're not driving all over the town. They're driving to one location, and it's a temperature controlled location. So they're not in the elements. You don't have to worry about snow. You don't have to worry about rain. To me, it's one of those things that like builders are the slowest to evolve when it comes to something new. They're like, we've been building houses the same way for the last 45 years. We're not going to change now. And it isn't until the public demands that they change it. Perfect example. Everybody around here wanted radiant barrier in the attic, and it helps reduce the cost of the air conditioning in the house. It literally makes no difference to them as far as building the home whatsoever. But for some reason, a lot of these guys around here, builders around here, were like, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Didn't cost them anything more, but the public kept demanding it so much so they're like, all right, well, we'll just order that radiant barrier. We'll put it in the attic. Like, why was that so freaking hard? Why was that so freaking hard? But it isn't until the public demands it. I remember one neighborhood, they kept painting the house in this one beige color. And every buyer that came through, they're like, why is it this builder beige? I hate the builder beige. And that's when everybody started like shifting over to the grays and the whites. And I'm like, paint the next house gray. Just paint the next house gray. They wouldn't do it. And then finally, like they started building it, started doing that white and gray. And sure enough, then they started selling again. I don't know. I think some people are just stubborn. Yep. Glad to be free again says, question, what incentives does private equity give builders to build these rentals, small cottage developments? Cash up front. So with a builder, right? If they're building each house, they're waiting for each person to go through that whole entire loan process to buy this house. They and each home is a negotiation. They have to negotiate, closing costs. They have to, make sure that the, appraisals come in. There's a lot more headache. So if you were a builder and somebody said to you, okay, I'm going to buy your whole entire development, each house costing $300,000, and I'm going to go ahead and buy it cash if you can build these for me. A builder saying, oh my gosh, that's my whole entire year. I don't have to worry about anything. I can get all these houses built. I don't have to wait for individual people. I don't have to deal with real estate agents. It's done. I can get them done. That is their incentive as a builder to build them for private equity over over selling it to you and I. Carmen says, why does the Fed just open up the FHA loans for construction land loans? I know a lot of people who would love to get a construction loan, but banks make it nearly impossible. That is not an issue here in Louisiana. I don't know where you live that's making it difficult for you to get a construction loan, but we don't have that problem here. Just like anything, you have to qualify for it. Other than that, but we do a lot of those type of loans, construction loans here, tons. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. Noreen says, question, if rental inventory goes up, a lot of home sales will go down. Do you think that will force prices to go down? It's possible. It is possible. Back in my day, when the housing market was in a lull right before the big push up in 2008. And Eddie and I were able to get a really nice apartment in Florida. And the people all the time were like, you got into that apartment complex? I'm like, yes, we did. Because there was so much apartments available in the area and homes were relatively inexpensive. So, they had a ton of apartments and it's possible that happens. Just like a year later, we ended up buying our first home because everybody's like, oh, houses are so cheap right now. And then they were like, the interest rates are going down and we got a 7.5 interest rate. And I thought I got I'll just say screwed over because I'm like 7.5, but the interest rates kept going down. And at that time I wasn't in real estate and I didn't know how any of it worked. I'm like, man, how my credit was in the 800s. Why did I get a 7.5 and she got a 6.5? I don't understand. I didn't know how it all worked. Young and dumb, I learned. Build smaller. What does that solve long term? Well, I'm just going to say right now, people aren't having huge families. What did McMansion solve? Except for taking up more land space. If you have more like smaller homes that people could purchase that are in the middle class, yeah, you're going to have an increase. Like you're going to have more people owning their own home. That it helps a lot of people. There's tons of people that don't want a huge house. They don't even want a huge yard. Here that we call them garden homes. They would love to be able to afford it, but to look at a garden home and it be $400,000 to $500,000 on a postage stamp lot, that's not helping anybody. So the only choice they have left is to rent. But everybody knows that to build generational wealth, you must own real estate. And a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on owning their own home because it gives them some financial freedom to do all sorts of things in their life. Maybe refinance their house to put their kid through college. Maybe refinance that house to do whatever they needed to do because they own it and it belongs to them. They have some kind of leverage in their life because it's their piece of property. Don't get me started on taxes and all that. When I know some people were like, it's never really your property because you owe taxes. I know. But yes, we do need more smaller homes. We haven't been building smaller homes for almost 2 decades. The bigger homes that we've only been building bigger homes. That's all we've been building. And we haven't been building enough of those even bigger homes. And that hasn't solved any problem for people trying to get on the property ladder at all. Are there permits required on modular homes? They're the same as any building. So whether you're building a modular home or traditional build home or, a monolithic home, you still have to have the permitting office look at your plans. So that way you can have the house with, electricity and attached to any kind of well system. Yes, you always have to have permitting no matter what you're building. David Jones says, in Ohio, there are 2 developments that build many houses, but are selling some land already developed. Have you heard of this? Well, if they section it off, like the front of the neighborhood is full of the houses they're building, and then they sell the pieces of land behind it. That I've seen that. That's not unheard of. Or they'll partition that part off for another developer because they don't want to build anymore. I've seen that. I've seen a new thing now, and you know what? I'm going to ask your opinion about this. So there is a development, and I've seen this in Texas, where you are basically buying the home, but you're only renting the land for 100-year lease. So the home you're purchasing, the home belongs to you, but the land is on a 100-year lease. And I'm thinking, how does that make sense? Somebody asked me about it. I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, I know I wouldn't live 100 years, but I would want to be able to, pass that on down to family members in the future. And if it's only a 100-year lease, how could I do that? So you're just passing down the structure, and then what, you got to do another 100-year lease with the developer? And what's that going to look like, 100 years from now? Or did they take the house away and tear it down and now it belongs to them? I don't know. So anyways, who win the AFC championship game? Eddie, that's an Eddie question. Eddie, can you answer this question? Who won the AFC championship game?
Go Bills.
Oh, Eddie says the Bills. I don't know. Kristina always just says, go sports. Go sports. I've seen that here in Raleigh, North Carolina, where they lease the land and then you buy the house. Is that what you're talking about? Where they lease the land and buy the house? You purchase the house, but the land belongs to the developer for 100 years. Is that what you're saying? Because it was a new thing to me. I personally wouldn't do it. I've seen that in Oregon. It's just bizarre to me. I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just not the way I've ever seen real estate sold my whole real estate career. Onyx's bills. uh, Lady N says, question. They rezone repermit the McMansion lots for duplex lots, or put two single family smaller 2-story homes and make a lot of money on it. I'm not opposed, and that's another thing too. So there's a problem with what they call it NIMBYism. You know, people don't want certain things built in certain areas, but instead of building single family homes, a duplex would be a fantastic answer to a litany of problems. First of all, you can get more home on a smaller lot. Secondly, you provide two families a home, one family that wants to rent and one family that wants to purchase. And then the first family their mortgage is offset by the second family helping pay their mortgage. I love a duplex. I love a triplex. I think they're fantastic. If you can have one or have one built for yourself on your lot, and especially if you're not opposed to being a landlord, man, I would have done that in a heartbeat, but that's not really common here. I know nothing about sports. I will not comment on sports. LMR45241 says, question, trips for realtors to buying land for a tiny home. Thanks for and happy new year. Okay, so here's some tips for buying land for a tiny home. First of all, you want to find land that is either unrestricted or rural track. Rural, RURAL. I know I say it funny. So you want to look for that when you're scanning the MLS for these pieces of land. Then when you find a piece of land, I want you to make sure that you find a piece of land in an area where you know where the zoning and planning office is, because they will have restrictions on what size home you can build. Some areas will not. Some areas don't care, but other areas are going to require that. The other thing too is some areas will not allow you to have a tiny home on a piece of land that you live in that isn't attached to a well and electricity. So you have to have it attached to utilities in the area. One more thing is they may say your tiny home cannot be on wheels. It has to be a structure that's on a foundation. You want to know all of those things ahead of time. So if you find that piece of land, it's in the perfect area, you're able to get utilities to it, take those your plans up to the planning and zoning office in that county and ask them, is this going to work? And what else do I need to know before I start building? And, usually the people up there are really, really helpful. We haven't had any problems. The only time that we had a problem, Eddie brought the lady up some donuts and gave her a little wink and she helped us out. So it doesn't hurt to be nice to people. That's for sure. Oh, and we have a question that came in. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a service. It's an AI bot that sounds like my voice. She's super rude. And you call this number 888-255-0197. And you can leave your real estate question for the stream for next week on that answering service. This week, she was broken. So we do have a real estate question that has come in. I'm going to have to read the question because the download button for me to get that audio was broken. That was not on me. That was the AI robot. So we'll get that out next week too. But I do want to read his question and answer it. So question, it says, Fortune magazine writes that real estate agents are going to extinct like the travel agents did. Artificial intelligence? ? Thanks. Just like any business, believe it or not, I know that, they say they're going extinct, but they still exist. So the strong will survive. The people that are in it to win it will survive. But that being said, the new rules that have happened in the real estate market said that, real estate agents, they're dropping off like flies. There's so many not renewing their license, blah, 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 blah. And you know what that is? A bunch of horse pucky. There's still just as much real estate agents as there was before. Some of them might have dipped out because they couldn't handle the changes, but it really didn't change things. real estate transactions are still happening. Real estate agents are still getting paid. And this was just one of those things that was kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? All this was just some extra paperwork, a little extra negotiation. There was no difference. Real estate still moved. And people still paid commissions. that didn't change. Like people could say, "Oh, I don't have to pay a real estate agent commission anymore," and I'm like, "And they don't have to work for you then." That they don't have to work for you then. So, Smoosh Star said, "With the NFL on TV now, you are what the people are, are watching live." Yeah, I know. I think Smoosh Star. I don't think everybody is into football games. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I do have a very awesome real estate interested crowd of people that come in week after week so we can discuss a lot of these policies that have come out. We may not all agree, but it's always fun to have a conversation with all of you and get your opinion. Because the thing is I sit here during the week and some of these articles come out and I'm like, are you kidding me? Do they think the American public is that stupid? No one's going to go for that. Like, I really honestly thought the dumbest thing I ever read was they were going to build these neighborhoods, these HUD manufactured homes, take the chassis off these mobile homes and put them on a slab and say, yeah, here's your new home. You're going to get it at a discounted rate. But they're built to HUD specifications, not local code. So how are they going to get around, like, not just zoning, but like your wind speeds and who's going to insure those things? I'm like, whoever came up with that plan was a ding dong. Was a ding dong. So answer, if there might be no tax on tips, why not change commissions to the 3% tip policy? Just a thought. Well, everything's negotiable, right? Even a tip is negotiable. What, you pay for the level of service that you're getting, right? So, some people, when you were at a restaurant, they may not deserve that 25% tip or 20% tip, and other times the next person would. So your commission in real estate is very similar. You get what you pay for, right? If you're going to have somebody to fill out some paperwork, their commission may not be as high as somebody that's driving around to each property, filling out all the paperwork, giving you CMAs, walking you through neighborhoods, telling you about the schools. Like there's always levels of service and everything. So I don't think every real estate agent deserves 3% commissions. I might get some flack for that, but there are plenty out there that didn't deserve that 3%. The Snowbroke AI, Kristina, it did. Eddie, I don't know if it's possible for you to like show any of the pictures of the snow that we had. Our area got 8.5 inches of snow, which was crazy. And weather here, this never happens. So I enjoyed the snow. I literally started crying. But I was kind of concerned. I was like, oh my God, people's insurance is going to go up because I was worried about the weight of the snow and it collapsing rooftops, but it didn't happen. Yep. Lawnmower says, now we know why Eddie wanted multiple giant 4K monitors. He still wants me to get another. He told me he wants me to get another monitor above the screen, above the camera, so I can look up. So you can imagine as I'm reading articles, I'm like this. You guys are going to see the boogers straight at my nose. That's a terrible idea. Yeah, Noreen says 8.5 inches of snow. Wow, yeah. I did make a snowman, Rick Smith. I did. I did. Yep. JK says, question, do you have a housing market forecast for 2025? I used to do forecasts for 2025 and actually do pretty good on them. There's so many unknown factors that I could not in good conscience make one and not, it would just be a guesstimate. There's so many things that are ever changing right now that I did not do a forecast for 2025. I've done them every year except for this year. And it is mostly because I'm trying to see what policies, like today's stream is about the policies. I want to see what policies are enacted and the more details, a little bit more grit in the details of these policies before I made any kind of predictions. And I didn't do it until I know stuff. It doesn't make sense to do that, because then you're just guessing. You're just going off what is currently happening, but it isn't going to make sense if a bunch of new policies change that. So Clark wants you to hit the like button. Thank you, Clark, the realtor. Clark does a live stream. Are you going to do one today, Clark? Mary says, which is better, new construction or an older house? Ooh, so you right now, new construction is actually more expensive than a traditional already built house. Single family already built. I can't even think of the word. Resold house, right? So, if it was me in today's age, I'm saying this just from my perspective, I would not buy a house built from 2021 to 2024. I would not buy a house that was built from 2021 to 2024. And it's just from what I've seen with my own naked blue eyes around some of these areas, and I've seen what's been going on with home inspections. Now, of course, not all of them. I'm talking about the ones that are like the big name builders, the cost cutting corners that have happened in the last 4 years make me very nervous. Made me very, very nervous. Now, if you can find a builder that has a fantastic reputation, you already know people in the area that have had a home for like more than 10 years or bought in the last, few years, and they've had no issues, then yeah, go for it. Go for it. Absolutely. But if it's me, I mean, Eddie and I already know our next home is going to be a much, 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 much older home. I want the old character to the house. I want to see some old trim and ugly old cabinetry. I want all that stuff. I think it's beautiful, and I want character again instead of like hospital. But that's just me. All right, David Jones says all these inspector channels make me scared of new houses. Never knew. I wouldn't say never. Like our house was built brand new, but we got to see the whole entire process from start to end. Over the years, I've seen some really good work done by home builders, but I've seen some really crappy homes built over the last couple years. It seems to have gotten better, a little bit better this year, but 2021, 2022, 2023, I was like, what is going on? And I don't know if it was because of cheap labor or cutting costs in other areas, or was it the building materials? One of them, I mean, like they had put so much sand into the concrete. The concrete was like crumbling, with their hands. And Eddie and I's old neighborhood, we saw them do some cost cutting stuff, and that was back in 2008, Yep. Wild stuff. LaCruz says, have you heard of a loan that allows you to buy multifamily homes as a single family and give you equity for the estimated rental income? That's a loan question. So I'm not a mortgage broker, but my friend Kyle Seagraves at Win the House That You Love is. Eddie and I have never done anything like that. But I'm sure there's a pretty much a loan package for just about everything. There was one that was called an FHA Kitty condo loan. That was one, but that was only specific to Louisiana. I found out later. And there's grants out there too. And everybody like if you're planning on buying multifamily units and you plan on living in a unit and you're really, going to be helping the area because you're going to rent out the other units from that multifamily unit, like you can probably get a grant because you're offering more housing availability in the area. So like check out what they have. Do that. Oh, Eddie, go back to you remember we were talking earlier, by the way, about Fannie and Freddie. So the poll question, if you don't mind, one of the moderators, if you could tell me what the poll question stats are, if you could put that in the chat, I would not mind. Rick Smith says they're DSCR loans. What is this, Eddie? Oh, this is okay. This is about Fannie Mae and Freddie, right? So this is why did we get into the point? Because Fannie and Freddie were never covered. Well, they were not covered by the government before the last housing crash. Does anybody know why they were covered after or during the housing crash? Why the government stepped in and said, the poll results say that 20% that say that Fannie and Freddie should go privatized. 34% said no, and 45% said not sure. Fair enough. Fair enough. The whole reason why they went private, they were not privatized after the last housing debacle, is because they didn't know how to manage their money, and they didn't know how to package up their mortgages in a way and sell them and make a profit. The whole debacle was because banks, like all these banks, made these available loans that were available to anybody. They could do stated income loans. They were super shady, and all of these Fannie and Freddie and all of them were about to collapse. So the government said, hey, we're going to save you. We're going to give you a bunch of money. Our taxpayer dollars are going to save these institutions. But in order for your institution to continue, we have oversight of what you're doing. From here on out, you're no longer going to be able to make these kooky dookie loans. You're not going to be able to bundle these up as crappy securities. You can no longer do that without our eyeballs being on it first. And that's why it's no longer privatized. And the suggestion, in my opinion, and this is the only time I'll give you my opinion about this, but the suggestion to change that back to me sounds like a recipe for disaster. They got themselves in hot water. I mean, it nearly collapsed our whole entire economy. And then we're going to give it back to them and say, oh, you learned your lesson? I think not. I think not. That's what I personally think. Yep. Peggy says, question, do you think you have a link to your Tuesday program on YouTube? I haven't been able to find it. Peggy, I was supposed to put out a video this past Tuesday, and it was supposed to be for my list of modular homes that are coming out into 2025. Companies I have my eye on and ones that I've worked with in the past. I am going to humbly admit that I saw snow this week. I folded up my computer. I didn't open up an email. I didn't look at my phone for 2 days. For 2 days, I did not look at any of it. And I did not put out a video this past Tuesday, but it will be out this coming Tuesday. It will be an edited video. So sorry about that. I don't know why I did that. I do know why I did that. I just got very enamored with the snow. I couldn't stop playing in it. I made a snowman. I made myself so happy. Let me see if I can, since Eddie couldn't put up a picture on the screen, I'm going to pull one from my phone. I'll show you my exact snowman. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if I can. Oh, it's not gonna show you, but you get an idea. I made a snowman. My whole backyard was full of snow, and the little studio house was all full of snow too. This is where I actually film all of this stuff. This little house right here is where the studio is, and look, this was all covered in snow. It's totally unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, so I had a total snow day. It was supposed to come out on Tuesday. It's all filmed. I just haven't edited it yet, but it's happening. It's happening this Tuesday, I promise. Did your snowman have eyes and a nose? Yes, it had eyes and a nose, a carrot. I used a carrot. We used buttons. Our kids in the neighborhood keep throwing baseballs in our backyard, and they haven't come and got them. So I had them in a pile. So I used for the snowman's buttons, I used baseballs from the kids in the neighborhood. I was hoping you post a snow video. I didn't think anybody would be interested in the snow video. I thought, because this is about housing and affordability. I didn't think anybody would be interested. Yeah. Yeah, my little snowman. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. But in the meantime, we did get a phone call. I just wasn't able to download the audio. So I do have a question that came in. Eddie, can you put that on the screen, please? Yeah, that was a huge snowman. It really was. And then he fell over later that night. No. All right. So this came in from the robot. The robot did not allow me to download the audio. So I'm just going to read you. The robot said, "What is your question for the live stream?" And this caller said, "Just in general, do you think the U.S. should taper off or ban foreign investment in real estate and land in the United States? Do you think that it will have an impact on prices?" Okay, let's go to the comment section and I'll give you my opinion. And I want your opinion too. Do you think that the United States should stop foreign investment in farmland? So, I mean, that's one thing you could do. I know that like in areas of Canada, they had such a large investment of foreign investors that they banned it in certain provinces. I don't know if that had continued, but it's one thing to look at. Definitely, pencil it out. Would it bring down the price of land? I don't know, because who's going to buy it up? Who has the most farmland in the United States? I know who has the most farmland in Oklahoma. And that's the pioneer woman and her husband. They own the most farmland in Oklahoma. They own the most dirt. And Bill Gates owns the most farmland across the United States, last time I checked. But I don't know how much foreign investment companies have bought land. I don't think it could hurt to stop the investment of foreign companies. But here's the thought: people aren't stupid, and if they want something, they'll come up with a different way of getting it. So there's nothing going to stop a foreign company to going to an American company and say, "Hey, we want to invest all this money. We want to use your company name in order to own this land." And then after the land has been purchased by this American company, the foreign company now has the deed transferred over into their name. If there's a will, there's a way. I don't see how it could hurt things, that's for sure, but I don't know how much it would help. And somebody says foreigners own a chunk for sure. That should be discontinued. Like if you look all around Hawaii, I mean, I don't think a lot of it's owned by the United States anymore. That's for sure. Peggy says, I am happy that you had a great time in the snow. I just couldn't locate your Tuesday program. Does it have another name? It's not a live stream. It's an edited video. So you go over to videos right there. Yep. Click that tab, hit videos, and it will have my most recent one that comes up on Tuesday. It usually comes up Tuesday afternoon around 3:30. Same time as my live streams. 3:30 in the afternoon on Tuesday will be there. My last one came out 2 weeks ago. It has about 67,000 views. It talks about the solutions to affordability crisis. Yep. Lynette says, hello, I hope you're well. I just wanted to ask if it's okay I am looking into the housing market at $165K, and it's a mobile home in a park. Currently, the park is going through a legal battle with the park owner. Well, the first red flag is the fact that it's in a park and they're having legal troubles as it is. The park owner, I wanted you to find out if it's a co-op or if it is owned by one individual or it's owned by a huge organization. So this whole investment thing of, hedge funds buying up single family houses is not new. Nobody was talking about it at the beginning because what they were really buying was mobile home parks. It's one of their top income earners for investment companies are mobile home parks because of the lot rent, and they don't have to maintain the buildings. The owners maintain the buildings. And that's why hedge funds love mobile home parks. The thing is when hedge funds own mobile home parks, they don't maintain the mobile home parks. They say they're going to, but they don't. And they not so slowly will increase the rent to as much as the market can handle. And they don't care who they hurt in the long run. They don't care that they're kicking out an 85-year-old woman who already paid for her home 10 years ago because she can no longer pay for the lot rent. They don't care. They'll kick her out, even though she has nowhere else to go. I think I would be very cautious if you're considering any, and this goes for everybody, if you're buying anything where you rent the land. I'd be very, very cautious of that. Danny says, question, what are your thoughts about purchasing a home in Baltimore, Maryland? Homes are cheap there, but old 1920s and 50s. Is it safe there? I want your honest opinion. I don't have an opinion, but I will look into it. Can you email me, Danny, so I don't forget, because my brain is Swiss cheese. Go to my website, go to my website, hit on one of the pink buttons and fill out a form and just say, I want you to look into Baltimore area and give me your honest opinion. And then I will definitely do a little digging, because I love looking at housing markets. I mean, it's kind of like it's like one of those things, like some people like to hunt down people on social media sites to find out what their real name is behind a screen name. My favorite thing is looking at housing markets and finding out where there's a really good deal and where people haven't discovered yet. I'll let you know if I believe it's a thriving market that has been untapped, or it's a failing market that will continue to go down. I will definitely take a look at that. Rick Smith says, why has Hawaii become so crazy expensive for so long? Well, it's a vacation paradise spot, and it's in the middle of two continents, and it's right smack dab in the middle, and it's warm and it's beautiful, and the weather is stunning. It's been like that for eons, ever since I was little. I even remember the Brady Punch going to Hawaii. Remember that with our little secret amulet? Show my age. Show my age. Even the people that live there, that have lived there for eons, that work traditional jobs, have a hard time finding affordable housing in Hawaii. It's they really are like the catalyst to like a lot of different areas. Because if you look around the country, areas that used to be super affordable, like areas of Montana, where residents have lived there generations, have been bought up, and has made the prices in that area skyrocket. And now their children that grew up there can't afford it, because people with a lot bigger, deeper pockets have driven up the price so much that traditional regular families can't afford to live in their own town that they grew up in. It's messed up. But that's how Hawaii is too. Yep. Eddie, are you watching the damn game? I'm going to give him guff about it today. You know what? He is, because we haven't heard his voice not once today. Not once. Yeah. Somebody said earlier from that question, that lawsuit is a red flag. You're right. The peaceful warrior. Whenever I see anything with a builder with a lawsuit, or any kind of development with a lawsuit, I don't touch it. Not until I know what the outcome of that lawsuit is going to be. I mean, that tells you a lot. I mean, anybody can sue anybody, but I want to know once that's rectified. I don't want to do anything until it's done. Because, like, what's the potential, right? What if this lawsuit goes through and say the owner of the park goes bankrupt? What happens after that? And then you're stuck with a house that's $165,000, and maybe you're not even be able to live there anymore, and it's gone into the lot itself. All the lots are in foreclosure because the owner can no longer pay. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be careful. That was a good point, by the way. Very good point. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. It says, Baltimore, one thing that I do know is that the city has rent stabilization. So do consider that renting out your house if you later need to move more than maybe more complete, maybe more complicated. Why could I not read that? Why could I not read that? Complicated. I can't live where I grew up in Southern California. Parents got in the early 90s for 165,000. Now it's 1 million. 1,200 square foot is 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Cali prices are insane, and they're going to get worse. By the way, I don't know what part of Southern California that you're in, but I'm as an example because you guys have had all those fires up there, and my town is where I live is about 45 minutes to an hour away from New Orleans. And after Katrina, all those floods and everything happened. So people, couldn't move back to their houses. They were filled with mold. They were able to get a check from their insurance company. Some of the houses were, uninhabitable. So they got a check. And then they moved up to our area to start over again because many people were like, I'm never going back. That right there, overnight, this little town which was super, super sleepy little country town turned into chaos, and home prices were just $10,000 every week. Another house would close, another $10,000, and I've seen it in California, and I saw it here as far as real estate transactions during that time. There were real estate agents in this area that would buy houses from the builder or have houses like under contract with the builder, and let's just say they bought that house for 165,000. Then when these people came up from Katrina and they'd say, we're just desperate to find a house, we can't find anything for sale, they'd say, oh, I actually have a pocket listing or a secret listing for you that I'm going to go ahead and sell it to you for 200,000. Let me take you to it. And they're like, how do you have this house? Right? It's just, this agent is taking them to this house that's being built, but she's going to go ahead and sell it to them for another, $40,000, $50,000 that more than what she purchased it for. This was a true thing. They actually did this, and this is no joke. They would walk into the closing. They would close on the house that they bought for 165,000, walk over to the next room, just walk their little happy butts over and sell it to the next one for 210,000. So they got it for 165. And then they went over to the next one and sold it for 210. Isn't that gross? I mean, I'm telling you, karma is a thing. And it may not happen to you today, and it may not happen to you tomorrow. And some people are going to say, that's just the price of business, or that's just what the market dictates. It doesn't make you any less of a piece of poop person for doing it. And one day it all catches up to you. It may not be today, and it may not be tomorrow, but one day that kind of nonsense will catch up to you. And I saw in California with real estate transactions and a lot of real estate agents and even home sellers, they took their houses off the market once the fire started. They relisted their houses that were for rent already. They were $5,000 before the fire started, and now they're over $18,000 a month once the fires came through because they're trying to make a buck. But there's a law in California that says you can't do that. So a lot of those people have gotten caught, and you get a ticket for that. You even can get some prison time. So all in all, just don't be a jerk. If you're going to do, real estate, you can do it and make money, but you don't have to be a-hole doing it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, look, if you guys have any questions during the week, you want to ask me, or you thought about after the stream, you can always call the phone number here, that 888-255-0197. Leave a message for the grumpy AI robot. She will be fixed this week. We will get to hear your voices next week. I'm sorry that didn't work this week, but she's being grumpy. Maybe she took a couple days off for the snow. But if you don't want to do that, you can always go to my website, KristinaSmallhorn.com, and click on one of the pink buttons and fill out the form, and then you can ask your questions there. if you want to like share this with your friends, or you want to have an open discussion about some of the policies that have come out from the White House about housing, go ahead and share it everywhere. When you listen to anywhere you listen to podcasts, just go to Kristina Smallhorn Real Estate for Everyone and share that. If you can and you have time and you want to, you can always leave a review. Eddie always asks me to tell you guys to leave a review, and Eddie gets to see the review messages there. So if you want to leave a review, go ahead and do that. But you can share that over there. Everybody, I want to say thank you so much. You guys have been great today. I'm glad that the chat was productive and you guys didn't get out of hand, because I know whenever you're discussing anything that leans to the political side, it can get very emotional. And I appreciate everybody putting in their 2 cents without getting silly. So, all right, everybody, you have a fantastic week.
Thank you to our moderators.
Thank you so much to our moderators. They always keep it clean. And if you can, go over to Clark the Realtor's live stream today. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Go watch that football game. Go sports.
Go Commander.
Ugh, whatever. Yeah. Bye.
Kristina signing off. This dream's about to close. Tiny homes, big dreams, the wisdom she bestows. Real estate queen, always keeping us in toes. Hustle on 1,000, every vibe she shows.